All right, we are live and welcome to Monday's Mastermind. We are so glad that you are here and we're just about to get started, but we're waiting on Pops and Katie because I think they're just coming back from a walk, and that's always good because exercises. Suppose. Wow, I am hearing myself again. Give me a second. What is going on here? There we go. All right, I've just muted myself. So if you are here, just put a comment in below so we can see that you're here, so we can say your name and give you a shout out. And we have with me on stage the Honorable Jamie Shaw. Jamie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing super.
What?
I'm getting double feedback from you. I got two voices going.
I think something's playing in the background, maybe.
Let me see. Oh yeah,
yes.
That's what it was. I opened up the page and it was playing in the background. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. We have Joe.
You said something. I'm like, didn't Dave just say that?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. It's good. It's typical Monday, start of the week. You got to go to the job and start all over. But I had a interesting day today. But what was really cool was I was searching for something to listen to on mindset, and stuff on the way home, and I get a live notification that Dave Renica is live. So I'm like, oh, that's as good as mindset stuff as any. So I listened to it.
Thank you, man. I was conjuring up the courage to do it because my internet is still a bit sporadic. I don't think they're ever going to get this right, man. We have the worst service provider in the world as far as I'm concerned. You know what the weird part is that Telkom is actually owned by some company in America. It drives me ballistic. And I have no idea what the heck to do here. And I can see the connection in front of me. And so it's a bit spotty, but it seems to have gone straight right now. Well, hey, we have Jovi on the chat. We've got Joe McKenzie right now. I actually wrote an email the other day. I was referring to Joe in the email about getting things done, and I told everybody the story about how when I was I was about 12 years old, and while I was given this puzzle from my dad, and the puzzle is called The Horse and Bridle. And I don't think I have it here. Let me just check if I have it. Bridle. For some reason, I had it here the other day, but it's basically an oval band that's put into a housing, and you got to get it out. And I was 12 years old. My dad gave this to me. And I sat there for about 2 days trying to work this thing out. Now, I didn't do it for 2 days straight, but I put it down, picked it up, put it down, picked it up. But my dad did it because he knew how to do it. His dad made it for him in the early 1900s, whatever. So, and he got this thing, and he showed me it could be done. So I knew it could be done, and I was fiddling with this thing. And it took me about days, but I finally managed to separate the two. And I finally did it because I just put my head down and finally did it. And the whole point of that will illustrate that, if you put your mind to something, you can get it done. And I referenced Joe because somebody's probably going, well, you are young and your mind is fresh, you can learn easily, and you know all of the stuff we get told. But Joe just surprises me all the time because being as that he's almost 90 and he's still as sharp as a tack, he manages to get things done when he wants to work it out himself. And sometimes I think that people come up with excuses to say, well, I'm older and therefore I can't actually do something. And I know so many people that completely blow that theory out the water. And so as my business partner, along with everybody else, let's see, we got Robert Nevin. Buddy, how are you keeping, man? That's awesome to see you there. I've had a really good week with my business. I'm actually in the process of getting something sorted out that I'm going to share with my team this week. But I wanted to talk about today, and the subject is that using your weakness to overcome problems. And a lot of people know the frustration I went through yesterday when I wrote out an email, and the title was supposed to say, "Last Chance to Check This Product Out." And I wrote out this title, I wrote out the email, and like I always do, I go over my email, go over it, I read it through, and I sent this thing out. And I left it for a few hours, and I came back, and it said, "That's chance. That's chance. LATS to check something out." And I wanted to punch something because I was so frustrated, and I felt that I couldn't actually accomplish anything with my spelling problem. It's always been a struggle for me my entire life. And there is something in this. My grandpa used to be a sign writer when he was active and working. And there's something in the signage industry back then known as the signer's curse. And the signer's curse is you basically make the sign up with your stencil. My grandpa was so good at doing signs, he would even go in and paint bathrooms and paint tiles on the wall. So you could actually, it was almost like you could feel the tile, you wanted to feel the tile, it was that good. And you would do this stencil, write out this word, and then the next person was supposed to go to the customer and say, "Is this what you want?" And they would say, "Yes, it's exactly what I want, put it up." So he goes up and he puts the sign up, and everything was fine. And then somebody walks past and goes, "Hey, aren't you missing an apostrophe?" Or, "That word is spelt wrong." And that is known as the signer's curse. And I always feel like I have this curse. Not in the real sense that I feel that I'm cursed, but I feel like sometimes I'm swimming in peanut butter. It doesn't matter how much energy I spend, I cannot, for the life of me, write an entire paragraph without a spelling mistake because I always get something right. I'm either thinking too fast and writing too slow, or seeing words that don't appear on the page. So I will read a word out, even though it is spelt wrong, and I will say the right word in my head and go over it. And I've got to slow myself down every single time. The other problem I have is I'm terrible at reading. Like, I'm the worst. Somebody said to me the other day, and I didn't have the guts to say it. Mind you, referring to Pat Patterson, he doesn't have any shame in saying that he doesn't read. And somebody asked him, "So what are your..." The phrasing was, "So Pat, readers are leaders. What books would you recommend for people to read?" And Pat just says, "Well, buddy, I don't mean to burst your bubble, but I don't actually read." And, I'm a person that doesn't really enjoy reading. And the only way that I will really read something is if I am absolutely so engrossed in it. Like, the only books I've ever read in my life are true crime biographies and political figures. That's who I read. I've read Thatcher, her biography, I've read Mandela. I've read so many different leaders' biography because I'm really interested in that life. But anything else, I really find it hard to turn the pages. And like most of us, we look at a book and the first thing we see is the size of the book and how small the print is. And that really frustrates me. And so I want to share with you how I actually overcome my difficulty. And I say this to a lot of people who have gone through school. I never read a single book in career. I never read a single book other than maybe doing math problem and maybe a paragraph here and a paragraph there. I never read an entire book, and I was given plenty to read. And I had to do these where you stand up in front of the class and you're supposed to tell everyone what the book's about. And I passed this with flying colors. And people want to know, how on earth did you do that? Well, I've got to take you back a few years to when I was in about grade grade 7. We never called it grade 7 back then. We called it standard 5. That's what we called it. We never had the grades like you in America. We called it standards, like standard 1 to 10. That was the maximum. So, you know, grade 3 is standard 1. Grade 12 is standard 10. And we never called it standard 10. We called it matric. We still call it matric. But anyway, I was in a school that was adapted for people with learning disabilities. And we had this particular class to go to, which was called Combo 8. And I still don't know to this day what Combo 8 stood for. The only thing I can think of is that it was a combination of 8 different mediums. And what we would do in this class is we would go in and we would go through stories through different mediums. So there was an audio section where we would listen to books and then write a test. Then we would go to a different section of the classroom and we would see videos on something and we would write a test. And then we would write and then we would read. And depending on how we did, they would base the curriculum on how we performed. And this is an interesting thing that I learned early on in my schooling career, and it was one of the very first schools to implement this, where your medium that you learn through changes for everybody. And so many people today love to say, well, I have a learning disability, I've got ADHD, and I can't do this and I can't do that. Well, interestingly enough, you can actually look this up online. The guy that actually came up with the disease, ADHD, before he died, on his deathbed, he said that it was a made-up disease. And the only reason he did it was to make money. And you can look this up. It's online. It's recorded. It's out there. But for some reason, people still want to hold on to this. And it's not that I believe that people don't have learning disabilities. I believe that people learn in different mediums. So some people prefer to read, some people prefer to watch a video, some people prefer to listen, and some people prefer to read and write at the same time, and some people have to go through the experience themselves. And this is how I used to pass my exams. When I had to stand up and tell everybody what a book was about, I would interview my classmates, and I would get an idea of what the book was about. I'd ask different people and I would find out what was going on. And back then it was classed as cheating, but I was just very clever. I just figured out there was a way to do this. And in my entire schooling career, that is how I passed. And I did very, very well in my history exam because we had a teacher that never asked us to read any books. She would tell us the entire history lesson through a story. I want everybody to understand this, that if you are struggling with your business and you're finding it hard to organize or you're finding it hard to learn, I want to suggest that perhaps you need to change your medium. So if you are a person that prefers to read, maybe what you can do is instead of watching videos, you can actually put the subtitles on and you can watch the subtitles and you can watch the subtitles as they're speaking. Maybe you prefer to listen, so download them onto your phone and do what Jamie does, and he listens to them on the way to work and the way back. Maybe if you prefer to write and take notes, do that as well. The point is that all of us at some way or other feel that we have to be like somebody else to be successful. And I need you to know that I am me. I am very unique as myself. There's no one like me except me. And just the same way, there's no one like Jamie except Jamie, and there's no one like Katie except Katie. The problem is that we see somebody being successful and we think we have to be like that person. And I want you to understand that success has nothing to do with the tools. It has everything to do with your mind and your willingness to get something done. Your mindset is so important. If there's an expression that goes, where there is a will, there is a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. And it's an expression for a very, very good reason. And if you want something bad enough, you can absolutely make it happen. And this is why I believe, I want to put something for everybody here who's listening right now, and I want to ask you this question. Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible to lose weight without doing any exercise? I'm going to put that to the questions. Do you think it's possible to lose weight without doing any exercise? The reason I ask you this question is because there have been a lot of studies out there that will demonstrate that the way that your mind takes in information has a tremendous effect on your on what you do. So there was an experiment done with two groups of people. The first group of people were they were in an operation, and they came out and they were supposed to be given morphine for the pain. And as a result of that, they got a nurse out to administer the morphine, to say, now you're going to be getting the morphine, you're going to be you're experiencing a little pain relief. They put the morphine through, and they go, oh, thank you, that's amazing, that's wonderful, I can't believe this, thank you so much. And they measured this on the scale to feel how much they got relief. Then the second group of people who came out of operations, there was no nurse, but they also administered the morphine. And what they found is that the people that never had the nurses with them to administer the morphine found that the morphine didn't have as much of an effect, which is very interesting. Very interesting. The same dose and everything. This is what some people like to call, or refer to it as the placebo effect. Now, before I carry on, I want to tell you about one last experiment that they did a while back in a university, where they got a group of people together to do a study on two different types of shakes, like milkshake. And so they brought this group of people in, and they said, we'll give you $75 per person on the condition that you drink this milkshake. Wow, that's an amazing, right? No question. I'm going for it, right? But the only catch is that they had to administer blood while they were doing this. And they were measuring something in their blood called ghrelin. Now, if you don't know what ghrelin is kind of like a hunger hormone. And when you get really hungry, your ghrelin levels go at zero. And when you need sustenance, you take in the sustenance, and as you do, your ghrelin level drops. Anyway, this group of people went in to have the milkshake, and this milkshake had like 140 calories, zero fat, zero sugar, hardly anything, right? But it tasted pretty good. And they got everybody to drink this milkshake, and they took the measurements of their ghrelin through the blood, and they found that their ghrelin levels dropped like 20 points. Then the following week, they took the same group of people. They brought them back in, and they gave them a very different milkshake. It was called the indulgent milkshake. And basically, it's a heart attack in a cup. It's got 630 calories, 30 grams of fat, 55 grams of sugar. It was just decadent milkshake. It was unbelievable. And it gave everybody this milkshake. They showed them the chart and everything, and everybody started drinking the milkshake, and they took the blood, and they found dropped significantly. It was like, instead of 20, it went down to -7. So they had enough sustenance. And this would make sense if you come from the health industry. But the catch was this, that both times this group had the exact same milkshake. Now, how does that make sense? How does that make sense? Because your mind is the biggest, it's the biggest thing that you have to get something done. If this is not right, everything else falls flat. And this is why I say where there is a will, there is a way. And a lot of the times, we do not have the big enough will to actually get something done. And the people that are going to succeed in this industry, and I'm just looking at everybody right now, the people that are going to become in this industry are the people like Jamie, the people like Katie, the people like Pops, the people like Robert, the people like Joe, people like Maria. And I see the Mick as well, and people like Mick who keep coming back and who keep wanting more because they want to learn, they want to improve themselves, because they have this determination that they are going to make it. But I want to tell you this, that if you are surrounding yourself with unhelpful negative things that bring you down, the gossip that you hear at work, the stuff that you hear on the news, all the bad stuff that incorporates your entire life, that has a major effect. Just like with the milkshake, right? If you surround yourself with that information, whether you like it or not, it's going to affect you. And this is why, when I first got started in this industry, and I battled 8 months to a year before I really started gaining momentum, I was invested in watching every single series I could possibly get my hands on. Because I just wanted to do the fun stuff. I wanted I just love to watch the series and immerse myself in it. I would immerse myself in all the politics around my country, everything. And that's what I did the whole spoke about. But when I started to get serious into my business, I started to, that stuff just slowly started to drift away. And the more it started to drift away, the more my focus changed, the more my direction changed. I started, instead of being all over the place, I was focused like something that's focused. I was focused like a North Star. And the reason nothing would sway me was because I divorced myself from everything negative around me. So much so that a lot of my friends decided that I wasn't good enough to be their friend anymore. I lost friendships. I lost a lot of people that were in my life. And because the truth is that what is it we do? I mean, what is it we actually do when we meet up with our friends all the time? We just talk about what so-and-so did yesterday and how bad it went for him and how bad your job is. And man, I wish I could get my boss back. And you won't believe what happened to my car. Somebody keyed it. And somebody did something terrible. And all you can do is complain. But now when something happens to me, and as I said, with this reading problem of mine, I gotta say, it did affect me. It really threw me for a loop. It's like somebody had thrown a wrench in there and kind of just upset me for a bit. But because of my programming, I decided to turn it into a learning experience and tell everybody else about it. Now, I know I'm going on a long, long rant here, and I understand this, but I want to share this with you because I want you to understand that being you is the most important part of it, right? So I have a friend, his name is Scott. Scott's in the military. And Scott has a condition worse than mine. It is so much worse than mine. This guy can't even spell dog. It's terrible, okay? The guy is... It's terrible for him. But I feel for him because I understand what he's going through. His job is to write these weekly reports. And every time he sends out an email, he has a disclaimer right at the top that says, I am terrible at spelling. Please forgive me if you find any mistakes. I am hopeless at this, but I hope that you'll get the message. It's something like that. It's right at the top of his email. So people understand that he has a spelling problem. And everybody knows Scott as the guy that can't really spell for anything. He's terrible at it. But that is what makes Scott so approachable. You know that whenever Scott is in the room, people just gravitate towards him. Spelling problem, not because he battles with stuff like that, but because he is real. Because he lets all of his flaws shine through. Think about this. Think about all the problems you have. Like, I know that Joe Whistler stutters, and he's had a problem with speech, and it's affected most of his life. But Joe gets results in his business. Joe has a major effect on a lot of people because he puts in the work. You know, you cannot let things like that get in the way. If anything, you've got to tell people about it and let them know. And people are going, well, Dave, it doesn't look very professional to not spell correctly and all of that. No, screw that type of thinking. Be you. Be the person that's different. Don't be a block model of someone that's not. It can help you. The moment you start to be yourself is the moment that you can step out of your uneasiness and relax. It's so much better to speak from the heart and be yourself than be someone you're not. And and that's just about all I have to say now. I know I've spoken for a solid 30 minutes here, and I hope I haven't, talked your ears off. But put some comments in there and tell me if this is ringing true for you, if you understand, or if it's helpful. And maybe, Katie, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple of things that I wanted to make note that for those of you following Gary Vaynerchuk already know that he doesn't read. He actually writes books, but he doesn't read them. So there's that. I just wanted to read Bob's comment here. He says he suffers from a combination of learning disabilities, which is, hold on, it just kind of disappeared when somebody commented, dyslexia and dyscalculia. By the way, I'm terrible at reading too. Basically, he says he's dyslexia. We all know what that is, and he can't do simple, complex math in his head. So I think that's pretty interesting because it's just stuff that we think that we have to suffer from that, but it's like if you talk to a lot of people, most people are just like, they have this, well, they call it a disability, which I don't think it is, like OCD. Okay, I think everybody has OCD, honestly. It's just the pharmaceuticals, I'm not going to try to get all, conspiracy here, but pharmaceuticals want you to pay money on how to get controlled, or, in the certain kind of medications to make you pay attention, basically what it is. But I think we all have OCD because if you're not going to pay attention, if you're not interested, you're not going to pay attention. Honestly, if you're not interested, you're just going to be off in la la land. But as far as the dyslexia and OCD combination, it's pretty hard to focus when you're not, right? You just can't focus for some reason. Like I was telling Dave earlier that I could be reading a book in the first chapter, and like the next chapter I could be thinking about unicorns or something. So my mind would just go off. And so what I usually like to do, sometimes it's difficult for me to read. So what I do is I actually like to take the book and have it in front of me and also listen to it, because I've done this with Think and Grow Rich. Okay, Think and Grow Rich, when I first read it, it was really, really hard to read because I couldn't understand what he was saying. It was like old English. It was like, I don't know what this guy's saying, right? And I kept rereading it. And then finally, when I did an audiobook, as I was reading it physically with my eyes, and also listening to somebody in the audio to read it and follow along, I mean, that's magic. Honestly, that's magic. So I would suggest that for people who, takes care of your dyslexia and your OCD all at once, because that's what you're focused on. But when you have complete focus, if you notice, complete focus, you won't have any of these issues. And even if you did, you're just like, it doesn't matter. I have this really awesome message to put out there that I really need to tell somebody about. Like Dave's email today. You know, he had a misspelled word, but so what? He has this awesome message. We know what he's saying. He's real. And I think it's awesome. So, all right. Does anybody else want to take on? Oh, and Pops is having some laptop issues. He's trying to get on new laptop issues. So he's apologizing he's late.
I'll say this before Jamie comes on. You know, I do 3 hangouts a week. 3 hangouts a week. And for anybody who's wondering, like, geez, how the hell do you even cope with 3 hangouts a week? Because that's been murder, especially like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when you're doing these hangouts. And the other thing that people don't realize when you actually start a hangout is you've got to come up with content every single week to speak about. Fear that every single marketer understands and knows that this has happened to Katie and to Jamie and to everybody here that's ever hang out. You're wondering, what on earth am I going to talk about? Like, and then they're going, okay, they just go ahead and learn something. So you freak yourself out and you try and learn something. Now, I will tell you a technique that I use and why I don't stress that much when it comes to this type of thing. Is I will reach out to either Jamie or Katie or Sonia or somebody that I connect with during the week, and I'll have a conversation. And while we are talking, we'll come up with ideas. We will come up with problems and way of solving them. And believe it, that is the medium that I use to get over a problem of preparedness. Like, what the heck am I going to talk about? But the interesting thing is that I do know myself very well, but sometimes I just need a little push in that direction, and a conversation with Katie or with Jamie or with Pops stimulates that, and I can take that on to the next level because I use a medium. And this is how we get past these hurdles. You know, some of you watching this saying, but Dave, I find it so hard to concentrate and I find it so hard to do. Well, partner up with someone and work together in the form of business partners where you can exchange ideas. Not to go into business together, but to exchange ideas so that you can take with you. There are different ways of learning. Jamie, I believe you were saying, because I was talking to Jamie earlier, and I said, Jamie, do you struggle with this? And he just said, not really. And but he has a daughter who has the same problem, so he understands a little bit of the frustration.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter went through school with a learning disability, and actually it skipped me. My dad is dyslexic, and I think it skipped me and went to her. And she's my youngest child, and it's funny it skipped, you know, all the other 4 and just got her. You know, so but she had a learning disability all through college or all through high school, and then I don't know if she's grown out of it or not because she's finishing up her associate's degree in college right now, and I don't know if she struggles as much as she did when she was younger, but she still does. You know, and I work in a professional engineering company, you know, and I'm like Dave, I cannot spell to save my life. That's what the software I use, it has a spell checker built into it. When I write an email or something, I write it in Word and run spell checker on it so I don't misspell words. You know, so but you know, if I don't run my spell checker, like today I was doing a plat and I didn't run my spell checker. I took it over to Mike. Mike's a professional land surveyor, and he's checking the legal description. And I had commencement spelled COMMENC. I had the ENT turned around. And Mike's like, you can't spell commencement? He said, oh, don't worry about it. He said, I spell worse than that. So, you know,
but isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting, Jamie? That you were saying about your daughter that you don't know if she's going through the same thing. Isn't it interesting how school highlights all of these problems?
Yeah.
Because school forces you to think in a certain way. School forces you past. You know, it's funny that you're not allowed to cheat in school. Do you know how many cheating moments there are in real life? moments where we use other ways of learning that we were never gotten away with in school. School puts you in a box. I was always taught in school how to fill out a little curriculum vitae, for a job application. That's what I was taught in school.
What's
just follow it
interesting?
all correctly. Yeah.
What's interesting is all through grade school and her first year of college, she went to a traditional high school, grade school. She had a teacher right there in front of her. She went to college. She had a teacher right there in front of her. She did okay, CB, some A's and stuff. And she was a pretty good student. But now her last year of this associate's degree, she's been doing completely online. She don't have an instructor. I mean, she has an instructor, but she don't see her face to face. Because when you take it online, that's how I did my bachelor's degree, completely online. You don't see an instructor face to face. This instructor can't tell you things face to face. You only see them in a chat room, and that's it. When you take an online degree or something, you see them in a chat room or anything like that, and they can't tell you things that are going to interrupt your thought pattern or think that you're not enough or something because you didn't do something. You ask them a question, they give you a simple answer. So it's in an online environment, learning online, you have to read everything. So most of the content is built from what you're reading. So you're kind of teaching yourself in an online degree. And she is doing so much better in the online world because she don't have someone standing over her telling her she's doing it wrong. She's doing it how she wants to learn, and she's getting straight A's.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I got to say, the one memory I have in school is, I don't know if you had this, but you have a little we had a little book, like a little homework book. We had to write the dates. I would spell February wrong. I mean, what is the February? Why is it pronounced February? What the heck is? Why is there another R there? What the hell's going on? And then right at the end, I'd have to write sign, and I'd always write sing. Always. And my teacher would pull her hair out every time, and she would check it out and go, "Dave, why don't you come and sing?" Every single time. I'd always write sing instead of sign.
That just sounded like a Monty Python character. I'm just saying. For those of you who don't know, Google, or after this hangout, just YouTube binge the Monty Python. That was funny, Dave. That was funny.
All the peacemakers. Yes.
Well, if you don't know Monty Python, you've been sleeping under a rock, or you're one of the new millennials.
That was good, Jamie. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah. The cheesemakers. Oh, the lovely Pajante. I'm sorry.
But the
And
one
the
thing
show
that sticks
turns
out,
Monty Python.
yeah, the one thing that sticks out for me in high school is I took drafting in high school, because my dad was in the engineering field before he retired, my goal to my counselor was to go to school and become an engineer or work in the engineering field. And my counselor told me that I could not do it because I didn't have good enough math grades. And boy, did I prove her wrong. I run into her here at my class reunion, my 30-year class reunion. She said, "What do you do, Jamie?" I said, "I work in the engineering field." She goes, "You're an engineer?" I said, "No, I'm not an engineer, but I design highways and bridges, subdivisions." She goes, "So you do all the work and the engineer just signs off on your plans?" I said, "Yep, that's how it works." She goes, I said, "Remember, you told me in school that I couldn't do it, that I didn't have good enough math grades." She goes, "Well, you proved me wrong, didn't you?"
Where there's a will, there's a way. I'm telling you. You can accomplish things you never thought possible. There are so many things. I never thought ever. I mean, it's funny you mention this because 10 years ago, if you had told me I would have gone to America, out of all places, I would have told you joking. There's no ways. There's no ways I'm going to America because it just cost too much money. And I was able to do it because I just decided. It's funny. when I wanted to go, I initially, when I went to go and work in the UK for 2 years, I saw somebody get on stage. I worked in security for £8 an hour. And when I heard £8 an hour, all I heard was 100 Rand an hour. 100 Rand an hour. And 100 Rand an hour in South Africa is a crazy amount of money for what you earn there. And just by him saying that, at the back of my mind, I said, I'm going to the UK. I'm going to the UK. It was seated, and I just thought about it every single day. I didn't do what most people do. I didn't take what do you call it, a dream map or anything, and you put something on the fridge. I didn't do that. But every day, that was my thing. I told all my friends, I said, I'm going to the UK. I'm going to the I even told my boss, and my boss said to me, no chance you're going. No chance you're going. And I think it was a year later, or a year and a half later, I was on a plane. I actually remember coming out. It was when Terminator 2 came out. Terminator 2 came out, right? Or Terminator, anyway. Was it Terminator 2? Oh, it might have been Terminator. Anyway, I was Terminator. Anyway, I can't remember. Anyway, I came out and I phoned my cousin. My cousin called me up and said, my aunt, sorry, she called me up, said, I'm going overseas. I said, I have no idea what the heck, where to stay. Can you help me out? I didn't have any plan. But I was determined. And funny enough, when I left, I had no idea where I was going to stay. I was just determined that I was going to find a place. In London, nobody greeted me. Nobody said welcome. I was left all alone. And I found a way how to make money and everything in pounds. And I was the first time being overseas, and I called up a friend of mine. And I called her. I used to put a card, and I said, "Hey, it's Dave." And he goes, "Hey, welcome to Great Britain. We must get together sometime. Bye." And I had a list of names that somebody had given me, and I went to like 5 or 6 of them until the person that I didn't think was ever going to give me a spot. He said, "Hey, why don't you come over to Lewisham, get on the Docklands Eye Trail, and you can stay at my place for a week." I was just so determined. I was using blind ignorance, but my will was so strong that I was determined to make this work. Hey, Pops, thanks for joining us, man. You finally got on.
Yeah, I finally realized that Windows wasn't going to let me join without downloading Google Chrome in my new laptop. It finally dawned on me what I was doing wrong, and got it.
Is that a haircut?
Pardon?
You get a haircut?
Big time. Yeah, it got to be a real pain. Got to be a real pain, so I buzzed it.
Wow. You can walk into the pod and say, "Give me the Larry Pine."
Hey, wash and wear now. I don't have to mess around with anything. It's easier.
Looks good on you, Pops. Look good.
That's why I keep mine. That's why I keep mine like this. It's just wash and wear. I don't have to mess with it.
Yep, it's awesome. I don't know what possessed me to try to grow it before.
Honestly, I do the same thing. Wash and wear.
Oh, goodness me. Anyway, so, I want everybody that's watching right now, if you're listening and you think that you have some sort of list, something that you struggle with, something that is really hard for you to do, in perhaps academia or something along those lines you find very hard to do, maybe we can give you some suggestions.
In the comments here, and I know. I was reading the comments here, and I was Bob was saying that since he's like not really good at math, he uses a little card. I've seen those before, and it's really cool. It's a tip calculator card, so it helps really really well to do the tip. And I actually use a calculator, like a on my phone. So I'll just take the amount and then times 0.20, so it'll give me like the tip that I want to put in there. So I tip at least 20% because I've been in the industry. But yeah, I was just reading the comments. Sorry if it got awkwardly quiet.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Calculators are amazing. We weren't allowed to use them in school. We had to use I can't do arithmetic. Work out percentages.
You know, this is something that just popped into my head, but I did really well in school, and I think it was really simple. I mean, the way that the schools are structured is they teach you something, and like a week later they have a test, so it's fresh in your mind, and you ace it. Or if you didn't do what the whole program says, you're going to fail, right? You're going to get a D, or you're going to get a C. You're not going to get a high grade. So let's put that in a business filter, because I always put things in business filters. Is that say that we teach you something and we give you an assignment, and you have about a week or something to study that. So you get where I'm getting at? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we have this, and now you're going to have you're going to go test it out in the market. So what's going to happen? Well, how much did you pay attention to it? Are you going to ace it? Are you going to completely bonk, fall off the face of the earth because it's like, or not fall off the face of the earth, but like completely flunk it because something just didn't connect correctly? Because I was reading in the comments, Bob was saying, oh no, Jamie, you were saying that you're really good at all these maths and stuff. You're like a genius or something. And so you did all these things. It's like you're really oh yeah, you're shaking your head. Maybe I got it wrong. You were good at math or not good at math?
I'm good at some math. When I get up to calculus, it just totally screws my brain up. So
yeah, I was the same way. I was algebra and pre-algebra. I aced those. Aced it. It was like I could fall asleep through the class. For some reason, it was just really easy. But see, that's the point. It's like there's some marketing strategies that some people just can't figure out, or they have to go to like a step back for a moment, right, and try to figure something out in their mind, in mentally, in order to for that other strategy to work, right? So, am I off the ball? Am I off the? Do I make sense?
Yeah, you make sense. I will say this though, and I find it interesting. I just want to see what Nick's saying here. Yeah, our problems seem very big until we see other people's problems, and we're happy with our own problems. That's true. That's a very good way of looking at it. I will say this, and maybe this is the reason we do it. One of the biggest frustrations we have as teaching people strategies is that we teach somebody a strategy and they don't actually do it. And I think school is to blame for this in a lot of respects, because you learn something, you do a test and you forget about it. You learn something, you do a test and you forget about it. And I mean, often have you heard somebody say, when am I ever going to use this? Say this over and over and over again. When you actually get down to it, when something is useful, you don't actually follow through. You don't actually think, well, gee, that's a good idea. Let me actually put it into action. And you will find also that the people that did really, really bad in school are the people that excel at so many different things. My buddy Elton had a friend in school that was deemed the person to fail the most. He did terrible in school. Everybody else seemed to do very well academically, but this guy just kept on fighting the system because he wanted to be creative. I mean, we can think of plenty of examples. Albert Einstein, who was kicked out of how many universities because he wasn't deemed to be smart enough. He had a learning problem. And I think if you do have a learning problem, you have a slight advantage over a lot of people because you think in a different way. you think left field. You've got a creative mind and you solve problems. And you know, my dad never finished grade 8. He had to leave school and look after his own family. And he had to become a turner, a machinist. He never finished his high school. But yet my dad, he can write the most amazing poems. Go and check them out on my blog. You can go and check them out. He writes these amazing, funny poems for kids. And he's very creative. He invents stuff. He sees things and he wants to do it. He saw a pizza press once, and he was so amazed by it, he decided to make his own pizza press. You know, because that's the way his mind works. He just loves creating things. So be encouraged.
Yeah, my dad quit school in 7th grade, and his dad said, well, you know what, you got to go to school. And he said, well, you know, I don't want to. And so my grandfather told him, well, you have to work then, and you have to continue to work if you don't want to go to school. So he found all kinds of jobs, and he worked a lot of different jobs, but he was also an excellent artist. He knew words phenomenally. He could do crossword puzzles and get most of them right. He remembers people's names from, he would tell stories and he would almost forget the story of the incident, but he would remember people's names from way back when he was in World War II, when he was in school.
And the street names.
And yeah, street names when he was working the streets, selling newspapers, whatever. Wow. He was a bit of an entrepreneur. He had some different business things, and an inventor like your dad. He invented a few things that were, one was ahead of his time, and was a collapsible grocery box that people could buy at the store. Of course, at that time, the corrugated cardboard wasn't really around, so it was made of wood. And so it was kind of heavy, and it really didn't go. And then, of course, the stores came out with the corrugated cardboard of their own. So then that didn't work out well for him. But he had all these talents. And the thing is, I guess what we're driving at is he acted on the talents. And he used those talents. He realized what his talents were, and he used them to promote himself and to succeed in whatever he was doing. Just knowing yourself and acting on what you do best, and use that in your business, and you know, you'll be comfortable in that skin.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I get heat from a lot of people that say, Dave, your spelling is terrible. How can you send that email out? I'm like, there you go. So, Karen, Jamie?
I talk about my education a lot, but the reality is I was a crappy student in grade school and high school. I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, I barely passed algebra in high school, and I flunked out of geometry. I had to take geometry a second year. And, you know, I graduated with plenty of credits, but no, it wasn't geometry I flunked. It was algebra 2, that what it was. Trigonometry is what I flunked out of. And, you know, but the things that I loved the most in school was history. Language arts, you know, I just barely passed. History I loved. Home economics I loved. Cooking, you know, high school donuts and stuff and shop class. You know, those were the things I was good at because I grew up on a farm. I mean, out on the farm, all we did was cut wood, deer hunt, plant crops, harvest crops, and that's it, you know. So, you know, another class that I was really good with, I mean, computers. I was in high school in the 80s, so computers were starting to come out, you know, so I was fascinated with the computers. And I guess that's where I picked up all the computers, because I've been, you know, playing with computers since like 1985. I was a junior in high school when our high school got our first computer. So, and I've been around them the whole time. I kind of grew up with them. So that was one thing that really gelled with me really well, you know, and then I still do the outdoor stuff today. I just got a new bow, got my bow all fixed up for deer season because, you know, October bow season's coming up here pretty soon. So, and I got a nice bruise on my arm from shooting my bow, you know, and that's something I grew up with, is hunting and fishing all my life, you know. And it's something I'm really passionate about because that's what I grew up with. That's what I know. That's what I'm passionate about. So, but it's just funny, ironic that, you know, I'm highly educated now, but I almost flunked out of high school.
Yeah, and we have a guy, Mick, who just said that, you know, he ran his first business in Australia without speaking English. I mean, how amazing is that? I mean, that should blow all of us out of the water. I think that's phenomenal, Mick. Well done. You know, I mean, that shows determination and drive, and that you can accomplish everything. In fact, Bruno, my buddy, a lot of you do know who Bruno is. He's one of my best friends, and he's got spastic cerebral palsy, and his dad started a business from, you know, he came from Rhodesia, known as Zimbabwe, and they came to South Africa, and he started his own business from the ground up, not knowing how to speak English, and he still managed to get that done. And it's just amazing. And I think it comes out of hard times. What do you guys think? When you have hard times and you're struggling, well, that seems when you can sink into the well and pull out something magical. Part of the reason, and this is something that Scott Adams was alluding to, he said, you know, it's interesting that you'll find that Paul McCartney doesn't come up with any hits now. There aren't any hits from Paul McCartney or Mick Jagger or, you know, all of these guys that were great in their time because they're living up a life now. And it's a good thing to be reminded of where you come from. We are at the end. We are at the end of the hangout, and we're going to wrap this up. So I'm going to pass this over to Miss Katie Station. She can start us off. Katie, any final words you want to share with everybody?
Yep. Actually, I was just reading the comments again, so hopefully Mick will get a hold of you because he's got some cool questions about what platforms are going to work best for interviews. So, anyways, the final thoughts is kind of like I'm kind of remembering back in high school and a lot of these different backgrounds that we came out of, right? And we're all stuck into this one place, and we all have all these different things that are going on depending on each individual. So some people are going to excel in arts, some other people are going to excel in math, and then some people are going to excel in home cooking or whatever. So just take that. I think this will be a really good exercise to actually have you go back into time and just think about all the things that maybe you were good at, maybe things that you didn't excel at, and the reasons why. Maybe it was part of your background, and maybe it's like you just couldn't do this because of whatever reason. And if it's something that has to do with your business now, and maybe that could be the reason why you're maybe struggling a little bit, and you could try to, of course you can learn a new skill, of course you can try to get a way around that, but don't try to fight with it. Like Pops was saying, you want to be comfortable in your own skin. So if there's something that you really love to do, like for instance, if you love to talk to people, like Mick wants to start interviewing people, loves to talk to people, ask questions, you can make a business on just that. I'm telling you. So just that, you know, you could talk to people and find out and be a counselor or whatever, right? Not like a professional counselor, because that's kind of like what we do. We kind of try to figure and help people and figuring out what their weakness and strengths are. You know, we kind of guide them. So anyways, I think that would be a cool exercise, is to look back and find out more about who you are and what you're really good at. That's important, because you have some awesome skills.
Thank you, Kate. And Jamie?
And just to elaborate a little bit on what Kate was saying, you know, we want to chip away the rough edges to fine tune the person that you already are, because the person you are is already there. You just need somebody to chip away the rough edges and make you better, the better version of yourself. That's not afraid to do videos, not afraid to write blog posts, not afraid of this or that. You know, you're not afraid to jump out of your own skin. And once, you know, one of us chip away them rough edges, you won't have that fear anymore.
Tops.
Have a good night, everybody. Now, listen, what I really want to tell you and what I want to share with you is you already know who we are, basically, and we all know, think back of when you really wanted something, you
Where's my
got it.
pony?
You went and got it, right? You went and got it. If it was all humanly possible, you got it. So if you want to be successful in your business, you'll figure out how to do it and how to do it well and how to succeed. It really is that simple. So find your course, find whatever social media or whatever it is that you are comfortable with to use to excel in your business and connect with people, whether it be phone calls, you can do that. Why not? Interviews like Mick is going to do, that's great. Whatever it is you're comfortable with, you'll do it if you want it bad enough. And that's where you need to start. If you want it bad enough, if you do, then just go for it. If you don't want to go for it, then find something else to do. Don't waste your time anymore, really. You'll get too frustrated. But it's not that hard to do. It's not easy, but it isn't that hard to do. Have a great night, everybody.
I want to end off with one last thing I want to tell everybody here. For the last week, one of the things that I've been working on is trying to create another course for people to go through. I'm talking about it, calling it SAM 3.0. And part of the reason I'm creating this is because I'm involved with another opportunity, and I'm trying to create something where I can get people to create success quicker. And so course out there that costs a lot of money that I'm just not prepared to put the money in right now for. I was trying to figure out what key factors made this thing work. And I was at a loss. And so what I did is I reverse engineered it. So I went to everybody who was involved with this course and I went through their material and I actually figured out what I needed to figure out because I wanted it bad enough. And had I not, I probably would have ended up going even further and probably buying the course to go along further. My point is this, that if you want something bad enough, you can absolutely make it work. You can, just like Pop says, you can work this out. There's no, we keep telling you there's no secret formula, there's no secret pill, there's no secret drink that you have to take other than the fact that you need willpower to do something that seems like it can't be done. Hell, who would have thought that Mick, who didn't speak English, could go to Australia and start a business? Who would have put money in that? Seems something that, but you see, because Mick has such a strong belief in himself, he had what they call posture in business, which is being confident in what you're doing despite external circumstances. You're going to figure it out. There are millionaires and billionaires in the world today that don't even know how to write because they have figured out a medium that helps them work better. Right? There are people out there that are deaf. They can't hear. And so when they are shown a video and there's nobody speaking on it, so they can lip read because it's easier for them to do, they give up. But if they just worked a little harder, they would understand how. YouTube has a subtitle feature. There are plenty of resources that will transcribe material for you at a cost, of course. But there are ways around problems which you can figure out. And the best part about doing it yourself is that once you've done it, nobody can take that away from you. You figure out how to do it. When you learn to drive a car, you don't get somebody else to get in there and drive for you. Somebody drives, okay, get up, my turn, I want to get in, I want to start, I want to drive. And then they go ahead and the Americans drive their automatics. You're not driving unless you drive a stick or a manual. I'm sorry. I don't care if you're driving an automatic. It's just my opinion, but I'm sorry. I can't drive an automatic. If I come to a stop street, I put it in neutral. I put it in park because I need to have that control over my vehicle. But regardless of that, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We hope this has been helpful. We hope that you can take away something here and use it in your business. And please understand that you can do this. You can do this. All right. If you're here and you're wondering what we're talking about, go ahead and click on the link below. Right this video, click on the link below, get started immediately. There's a trial, you can try it out for 10 days, and you can go ahead and look at the material inside and get going. All right. So with that being said, you have a wonderful day, and we will see you same time next week. And don't forget, we've got hangouts all through this week. I'm sure Katie can list them here. We got Jamie's hangout on Thursday, which is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got Sonia and Maria tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And who else? Wisdom Wednesday. Wisdom Wednesday on Wednesday. We will see you then. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.